Good evening, everyone, and welcome to Economic Heartbeat of Rialto. I'm Mayor Deborah Robertson, and I have with me this evening, I have Jacob here, and Jacob is with Panattoni. So, Jacob, welcome. I'm so glad that you were able to join us and share with us what's going on with Panattoni, and especially here in Rialto.
It's great to be here.
Well, thank you. Jacob, how long have you basically been with your company now?
I've been with Panattoni for 7 years,
Mm-hmm.
and I've been working in the city of Rialto on various projects for 6 years.
Oh, very, very good. Jacob, I apologize. I just went right into saying Jacob and didn't get your last name. Would you?
Sure, my last name is LeBlanc.
LeBlanc. Okay,
Yes,
Jacob LeBlanc. I do apologize.
not a problem.
I think because I've seen or heard and talked with you in different projects that I've just, hey, here's Jacob. Okay.
No, totally.
But anyway, so tell us a little bit about Panattoni and the business that you're in.
Yeah, so Panattoni is a development company. We're an international developer. We have 6, 7 offices in Europe, and I think it's like 22, 23 offices in the United States. Panattoni is primarily focused on on developing industrial buildings. In the past, we've developed retail, office, flex buildings, but primarily we're an industrial developer, and we focus primarily on big box industrial development.
Okay. And so you're basically, your locations that you're working on right here in Rialto are located where?
So right now we've got 1 million square feet that we're under construction on in Rialto, which is right off of Baseline Road in North Rialto.
Do you have some sense of who will be your tenants or what types of businesses will be actually utilizing the facility? I would think that you build them knowing that you will have a market and a tenant for it.
Yeah, so most of the stuff that we're doing right now is primarily speculative, but a lot of the tenants that we're seeing in the market, there's a long laundry list of tenants. And so, current tenants that are in the market today are Kraft, Amazon, Skechers, kind of more, Fortune 500 companies that are looking to locate in the Inland Empire in Southern California.
And generally, when those come on, we're still talking about roughly how many jobs in the size of that type of facility.
Yeah, it could be anywhere. If you secured somebody like Amazon, where it's more of a fulfillment center, you're talking a couple thousand jobs. Or if you're talking somebody that's more distribution oriented, and I know that the city likes jobs, you're talking 300 to 400 jobs.
I just came back. We had the General Assembly, which is part of SCAG, Southern California Associated Governments. It's our metropolitan planning organization for the 6-county region. And it's interesting you should mention that because our morning panelist discussion was about how the market is changing. And I think a lot of times people aren't realizing that the industrial market, and they see the big boxes, they tend to think it's going to be just solely distribution.
Right.
But it's actually the truth of the matter, from what some of the panelists were saying, was that the retail malls that we have had are beginning to re-engineer themselves, and they're becoming places of showcasing. People go in, they see what they would like to purchase, they look at it, and then they go to the fulfillment centers, actually. Right. So we, on one hand, we're thinking that a lot of people are now moving to fulfillment centers and taking away the need for the retail industry, but in reality, the panelists indicated that the fulfillment centers and the online shopping is still probably no more than about 5% of the total of what is occurring. So there's still a big need for, not only there's a benefit for fulfillment centers and the the distribution centers, right?
Yeah, and I think that's totally true. I think because we call it e-fulfillment, and so there has been a massive push over the past 2 years, and so for us it's really important because it changes the design of our buildings, and so a lot of the bigger deals that have gone down over the past 2 years, which there's been 2 Amazon deals, There's a Home Depot building that's being built, which is a fulfillment center. There was a building up off of the 215 that was just leased to Nordstrom's, which the tenant is Outlook, which is affiliated with Nordstrom's. And all of this is the e-fulfillment. And so a lot of these uses are not dock door driven or truck driven, you know, like a lot of the cities are concerned about.
Right.
There's a significant amount more of employees, office space, it's automated, and these are higher paying jobs, better jobs. And so there is just a massive push because, you know, I know for myself personally, you know, sometimes I go to Best Buy and look at the products in the store and kind of window shop, and then you go home and you look online at Amazon or eBay or whatever it is you're going to buy, you know, the product on, because you can buy it significantly cheaper. And so a lot of that is the trend that is occurring.
Right, and you know, and that's when you have a more informed consumer, they're going to look for the Best Buy because the product is still the same product. So
Right.
you mentioned that, you know, knowing kind of your tenant helps to decide how you'll construct the building.
Correct.
But when you mention that, you're still talking about more of the needs in the interior of the building, right? The exterior is still pretty much going to be kind of the facade that we want to see in terms
Correct.
of the fronts being very well maintained and the appearances of looking like a business community and business park.
Yeah, I mean, for us internally, it's really important that, you know, the product that we build, I mean, you know, I'll take my kids by it, you know, in 30 years, and so you want it to look nice. And so, but the things that I'm talking about are, you know, typically, you know, the minimum interior clear height on a building is 30 feet on a warehouse building. And so, you know, now it's important to go to 36-foot clear, which is a taller building, which means that the minimum clearance height inside the building is 36 feet. And the reason is because a lot of these e-fulfillment centers, they put mezzanine space in their buildings, and so, you know, they have basically 2 layers of use of the warehouse. And so these are the modifications that you have to make sure that you're doing ahead of time to attract those e-fulfillment uses.
Right.
And so for us, those uses, I mean, there's a lot of demand for that, and we know that the cities like them because they do bring more jobs, and higher paying jobs.
They definitely do. And as the panelists, again, and this was the panelist this past week that was from UPS. He was one of the head VPs over the operations. And one of the things that he brought to us that was worth thinking about was the fact that almost everything, regardless of where you purchase it, be it in a retail store or if you purchase it through a fulfillment center, it still is delivered to someone, to their home and to their door, or even in their car. The last mile he spoke of is always still going to be by a truck. It may be a UPS truck, it may be the freight truck, but there is always going to be still some level of a will involved with the delivery of that product. And I think sometimes we don't think about that when it comes to the fact that we'd like to see the jobs, but sometimes we're not happy with wanting to see the level of truck traffic. And so I think it was good to hear another perspective, and he kind of pointed out to us that everything that was on our table there for our breakfast arrived by truck. So he told us to go out and hug a truck.
Yeah, no, yeah, I mean, you know.
No, he just said be friendly to trucks.
Yeah, it's, you know, it's important to do that, but it's also, I mean, and a lot of the dynamics of things are changing, right? And so a lot of this stuff is going to be same-day delivery. So you order a book in the morning from Amazon and it's there in the afternoon. So it's the whole kind of logistics model, how stuff's delivered, how people buy things is changing daily. So I think it's important just to make sure that you're on, you know, on the front end of it, so you can kind of capture those tenants as they come to the market.
Yes. Well, you know, Jacob, I've got a lot of good questions I want to talk to you about. And I wanted to, though, before we go further, give you a chance to share with us kind of some of your personal life and things. And in talking with you, I found it really fascinating that, you know, you were a professional sports athlete. Why don't you tell us about it? And that you were on the U.S. Olympic team. Right.
Yeah. So I'm originally from Auburn, California. Which is from, you know, is in Northern California, up by Sacramento.
I know where it's at.
I come from a family of 5, so I have 2 brothers and sisters. for me, my dad is from East LA. He ended up moving up to Auburn to kind of get away from the LA atmosphere. And so education was really important in my family. And so it was education and athletics. And so neither my dad nor my mom went to college. And so it was their goal to have their kids go to college. And so my brother and sister both ended up going to Stanford, and I ended up going to University of Virginia.
Oh, okay, great.
And so throughout the process, I played soccer, and at the age of 14, I left Auburn and started traveling the world, and for my travels to become a professional athlete. And so ended up playing 2 years collegiately at Virginia, and then turned professional. And when I turned professional, I was 22 at the time, and at the time I was on the U.S. Olympic team. Unfortunately, we didn't qualify for the Athens Greek Olympics in 2004.
But you were on the.
But I was on the team. We lost to Mexico in Mexico.
Oh.
And so I ran that journey and did that process, and then decided personally that it was probably best for me not to live in Europe and to have a normal life. And okay. so I did that, and I thought what I would be doing today would be normal, but being a developer is obviously a normal kind of way to make a living, but it's been a lot different than I expected.
Really? Yeah, that's good. Well, good. And you have a family as well?
No, I'm a bachelor.
Oh, okay.
And so but hopefully in the near future I'll have a family.
Oh, okay. Well, we won't hold that against you if you don't have one.
Yeah,
You're busy.
I know.
You're busy trying to make development, but that's great. When you traveled with the when you were on the U.S. Olympic team, you guys traveled. I take it beyond to Mexico, and what other?
Yeah, I've played in South America. I've played in Bolivia, Argentina. In Europe, played in Belgium, France, Germany.
So you have traveled.
Yeah,
There's definitely been some benefits for not only the academic side, but the athletic side as well.
Yeah, and so just for me, I mean, my parents instilled kind of hard work, and the athletics did that for me, which I think it's helped me a lot in business, and then also just the importance of education, and the freedom that provides.
Yes. Is your parents still up in Northern California, or?
So my mom is still alive, and my father's passed away.
Oh, okay. And has she remained in the Auburn area? Or?
Yeah, she's up in Sacramento.
Okay.
I called her on the way out here when I was driving out here.
Oh,
and
good.
So still really close with her as well.
Great. Well, you'll be able to she'll be able to see you on YouTube at some point.
Hopefully, yeah.
Well, we're going to take a quick break and for the moment, and I'll be right back with you.
Perfect.
You wouldn't let money just blow out of your house. So when your AC or heater is on, make sure the doors, windows, and fireplace flue are shut tight. If you're headed out, turn down the AC or lower the heat by 10 degrees. And always keep your water heater set at 120. A little bit of common sense goes a long way. Get more great tips at energysaver.gov.
Everybody has a dream. Mine was to see the ocean. And with a little help, I made it.
Did you know kids who play outdoors have healthier lungs?
Totally.
Did you know that boys that play with dolls make better husbands?
My son has lots of dolls. But did you know terry cloth diapers breathe better?
I did.
It's totally true.
Oh, yeah.
Did you guys know statistically friendly kids have more friends?
Yeah.
That's obvious.
Did you know most people think they're using the right car seat for their kid, but they're not?
Parents who really know it all know for sure that their child is in the right seat. Visit safercar.gov/the right seat to make sure your child is protected.
All in together.
together now. We can make it better now. Come on, can we do it?
Yeah, you know that we can.
We'll rope it up,
Cause we know how to jump.
we'll roll it out,
Cause we know how to skate.
we'll cut it down,
Cause we know what to eat.
we'll swap it out.
We eat healthy stuff.
Can we do it?
Yeah, you know that we can.
Can we do it?
Just moving a little and eating better every day can help make you and your child healthier. Search We Can to find doable tips and activities that you can use every day.
We got the beat, we got the beat, we got the beat. Yeah, we got it. We got the beat. We got the beat.
So, thank you for returning to the economic heartbeat of Rialto. Again, I'm here with Mr. Jacob LeBlanc for Panattoni, and I would just like to ask you, now that we were talking about your travels and the business and kind of what the industry is going, could you kind of elaborate on what do you think has been some of the best decisions that your company and you have made as it relates to the Rialto area?
Yeah, so I think it takes us back to kind of Panattoni as a company. Panattoni is a family-owned business. They really instill in us to foster really good relationships, and so I think kind of the smartest thing that they've done is, you know, internally within Panattoni we have a thing which is a no jerk policy, and so it kind of emanates throughout kind of everything that we do. And so for them, it's really important that we don't leave any dead bodies behind. And what that means is that we don't have any bad relationships with cities or individuals or anything like that.
Right.
So I think for that, for us as a company and kind of just for the family portion of it, I think it's really important. So I think that is one of the best kind of business decisions that they've made, because I mean for us to do the development portion of it, and to put these projects up and to do a good job, I mean that's a part of it. But another part of it is also just having really good relationships and have lasting relationships and kind of win-win relationships for both Panattoni and also for cities like Rialto.
Well, you know, here in Rialto, we try to pride ourselves on being business friendly, and so, you know, could you just share with us what do you think has been some of the biggest advantages of doing business with us in Rialto? Yeah,
so I think when you look at the city of Rialto from the top down, you know, dealing with you or dealing with Mike Story or Rob Steele or Greg Lance or any of the individuals that we're dealing with, when I think about coming to the city, I look at the city like another business, and so, you know, kind of pre-recession, there was a lot of cities that we dealt with that were not necessarily pro business, and so. When I feel like I have something that comes up, and usually I don't ask for something unless I need it, there's always a solution on the other end. And sometimes it's not the solution that I like, but there's always a solution. And so for me, you know, I really like doing business in the city of Rialto. We have a handful of projects here. We're going to build probably 2 million square feet in the city in the next, 18 months. And so doing business here is very refreshing and really, I wouldn't say it's easy because it shouldn't be easy, but it is easy.
Well, good. And like you said, you're going to build, but also I know that you're building right now on the north end, but you have also built some facilities on the south end of the city as well.
We have. We've built about 2.5 million square feet on the south end, which house tenants like living spaces or Razor. So we've brought some pretty good tenants to Rialto, and we've also built a fair amount of square footage as well.
And I don't know if a lot of our residents know that we do have some of the top businesses that are in Fortune 500 that are also right here in the Rialto area. So that's always good to know.
And it's also important to note, I mean, when, we know kind of, I'm very close to the brokerage community. And when they're dealing with big tenants, that are going to bring jobs to the economy or bring jobs to the local market here, it's really important that the city is very friendly and pro-business to bring those jobs. And so we've had situations, and I've heard cases where there might be neighboring cities, right, that are not as friendly, and it ultimately hurts kind of bringing those jobs, whether it's a fire issue or whatever it is. So I really am kind of congratulating the city from that respect, on being able to accommodate those tenants and also developers like Panattoni.
Thank you, and I appreciate that because, you know, we were talking earlier about the one of the ordinances that we had put in place, and we kind of make it a part of the permit process to ask that as a developer builds, that they put an employment site on the location so that the residents at least will know how they can go and ask about employment opportunities rather than, you know, necessarily having to go out of the area. And so, you know, I appreciate that, you know, Panattoni has done that, and it was recently brought to my attention you have a new project going up on Baseline. You're
Correct.
just starting to grade. So I'm looking forward to, you know, something going up so people can be able to contact and find out who they should be talking to. I think you said your general contractor is Altman?
Altman's.
Yes, so hopefully we will be able to work with Altman, because one of the things we need to launch is the helmet to hard hat program that is part of helping to bring veterans back and be able to help them be able to secure employment. So we'll talk further about it.
And for me too, I mean, I'd be happy to set up a meeting to introduce the two kind of groups together to make sure that process gets integrated correctly.
Oh, good, thank you, thank you. You know, we're doing a lot of business here in the city right now, and while you're at it, could you share with me what's been some of the biggest challenges?
I would say from a city perspective, I really, you know, quite honestly, and I'm being totally frank, I don't have any complaints. You know, it's more kind of market-driven stuff that is tough, you know, and so you know, the demand for a lot of these warehouse buildings is really strong, but for us, it's really kind of obtaining financing, which is quite difficult these days, even though, you know, the economy is continuing to get better. And so also, you know, a lot of, you know, we're pretty fortunate because we're within the Rialto Renaissance specific plan, and so, but getting a lot of these projects approved has been quite difficult because there's been political opposition and there's also been environmental opposition. So really it kind of boils down to the financing, and then also additionally kind of that opposition from you know, the environmental and the political piece to it.
And you speak of the financing is still being difficult, and why? Why is it?
Well, it's just a lot of these banks, you know, a lot of the banks that we're dealing with, they are very scared to lend, and so even though, you know, the vacancy for Inland Empire over 500,000 square feet is under 2%, they're still very nervous about lending on new loans. And then on our end, on the developer side, a lot of the individuals are not willing to give recourse, which basically, you know, allows them to be personally liable. And so, you know, every day that gap gets bridged between the two, and, you know, the market's moving a little bit, and it's getting a little bit more aggressive in terms of, you know, the banks willing to lend and developers willing to give more personal guarantees and things like that. But yeah, that's kind of the state of the finance market.
Okay, yeah, because I mean, you know, when you look at the what is it, the Dow indicator, and we're making record tracks, and, you know, for my collegiate days of financing is that, you know, if you're not lending the money and moving the money, you can't make money. So I'm kind of like trying to wonder, well, if the market's moving, and it's slowly moving in the industrial, why the lenders are still hesitant. But I'm glad to hear that you're saying it's not necessarily just the area or the location.
No.
It's more of still they're very nervous with a sense of an overriding sense of confidence in the national scene,
Right, and
not just the local scene.
And I would say that, you know, here kind of in Southern California is probably the best market in the country, might even be the best market in the world for industrial warehouse space. And the vast majority of the stuff that we're doing at Panattoni is all cash, all equity from investors. And so really we're not even, I mean, we have one project right now where we're going to put financing on it, but really it's almost, you know, in what we're doing right now, it's almost non-existent.
Well, you know, I don't know. We're slowly moving in the direction. I think one thing about, and you said Southern California and California, I mean, we've learned and seen it so many times that we are strategically located. I mean, it's almost anything that comes in from the ports and from what they call the Westpac area and the region. It has to come through pretty much through here and on into to the other interior parts of the United States. So I would think that if they want to invest, this would be a place where you would definitely start investing. But it's just, like you said, there's still the environmental and some of the political issues to deal with.
Yeah.
You know, before we close, I would just like to ask you, because, you know, we're always trying to send a message to the young people in terms of, you know, their career, their education, their interests. You know, what would you tell the young people of Rialto what they should do or how they should begin to pursue their career paths, and what markets and directions should they go in?
Yeah, I think the biggest shift for me is, like I said, I came from a blue collar family, and so you know, I went through my days of playing soccer. I stayed with the host family in Palo Alto, California, and it was a really wealthy family. And what I noticed through that situation was that they were just like me, and so that was, for me, was a paradigm shift in thinking that anything's possible. And so, you know, in the way that I feel like, you know, career-wise, obviously do what you want to do and do what you're good at. And whether it makes money or, you know, that's kind of, for me, as a byproduct. You know, I think it's, you know, whatever you do and you like to do, you'll be good at. And so additionally, I mean, you know, obviously, you know, education is very, very important. It creates opportunities, and also just being a good person and treating people how you want to be treated.
Yeah, I think at the end of the day, that's kind of what we all end up hearing about is, you know, treat people the way you'd like to be treated, right? And whatever you put out there, you're determined to probably receive back tenfold and things.
And everything's possible.
Well, everything's possible.
Everything's possible.
Well, that's true. I mean, and I think we're moving in for the community of Rialto. I think we feel that way. We totally feel that, you know, it's we're a Rialto, we're a community that's moving in a progressive manner, and so I'm glad that you've been a part of Rialto, and that you're very comfortable and you feel at home with us in Rialto, and so I look forward for Panattoni to continue to grow with us. You know, again, I want to say to everyone, it's been wonderful sitting here having a conversation with Jacob LeBlanc of Panattoni, and I will hope that you will continue to tune in for our next show of Economic Heartbeat of Rialto. This has been, again, Mayor Deborah Robertson, and I want to say to you good night and thank you for tuning in.